Hello, Butler 1199. My name is Dan, and I am the delegate from BH Call Intake. And like the rest of you, soon to be returning to work. Um, so, wow, man, where to start? Well, you start with the disclaimers. This is not an official 1199 video or statement. These are my thoughts, opinions, and helpful advice and information. Um, And it is certainly not a replacement for talking to your delegate. Now is critically important to talk to your delegates because there's a lot of information that is going to be coming out and instructions that are going to need to be followed. And well, let's get into it because so obviously the top question is, Dan, where the heck have you been? Actually, most of you know where I've been. I've been out there with you, but a little lazy and not making videos. Um, I apologize about that. There really wasn't much going on for about a month, quite frankly, and I started struggling to find things to make videos about, so it's not just the same footage of the line over and over again. But and I was a little, I was just busy, and I was just like, I'll take a little break until things pick up again. Well, things picked up again, 2 weeks ago. But also but during those 2 weeks, there was a lot of things that would not allow me to make a video. So, 2 weeks ago we had our bargaining at the Renaissance Hotel, and during that bargaining we had a media ceasefire agreement, and that does apply to my silly little videos, even if they aren't official 1199 communications. It breaks the spirit of the agreement, so I decided to refrain from making a video until after that agreement would pass. Then that agreement did pass after some time, but I did actually make a video, and then all of a sudden we had a tentative agreement, and that video, I threw that right out the door, and you know, but then during the tentative agreement process, once again we had a media ceasefire, and I couldn't make a video. So now I'm in the clear, and I can make a video, and here I am. I am back. Sorry for the big delay. Um, but yeah, we a after a lot of things going on, things going back and forth, we did reach a tentative agreement with the hospital. Um, and on this Monday, the 18th, uh, we voted to ratify that tentative agreement into a contract. Um, with an overwhelming majority of the membership voting yes. So we did it. We have successfully negotiated a contract. Now, in this video, I'm going to be very careful about the things that I say. I'm going to be going over this tentative agreement, and because part of this tentative agreement is a non-disparagement agreement. There'll be no negative words said about each other during this time, which I think is a fair thing to do. Um, but I will be giving my honest opinions on the contract as we go through. That is not subject to any sort of disparagement agreements. I am allowed to to give my opinions. I am a person. I am an American, and I can do that. So, where do we begin? We begin with the thing that, for the most part, brought us all out there, which is wages, right? What's happened with wages? A lot of changes. I did take down the wage scales explained video because we ended up going with a more traditional wage package. Um, and so what is it? What do we have? So what we have is uh, what we've done in basic, and realistically the best way to understand what you're going to be getting is to talk to your delegate, get in contact with Murph. She's able to, tell you exactly what you're going to be getting if you haven't already done so, which I know many people did. Um, but basically we did the on scale, off scale, like we have done traditionally. On scale, it's, the best of three. right off the gate, the initial increase is going to be either the best of three, which would be whatever they had proposed in their proposal, 6% or $3. And then for the off scale, it would be the best of three, which is if they proposed something higher, 8% or $3.75. So the $3 and $3.75 is the floor for how much you can get, right? That's the least you can get. Some people can get more based on certain things that happen, or if you have a higher wage where 8% is more, or if they're offering like the higher percent for like they did for the mental health workers, we weren't gonna like push money off the table, right? We want money on the table for everyone, which the dollar amounts are going to affect a lot of people because a lot of people's wages are so low that the dollar amounts do bring them up, but the percents are really are good for those people who do have higher wages but have stuck this out with the rest of us. It allows them to get something that's a little bit more meaningful for them. So everyone's winning in this. It's good, and then it's um, uh, there's the 3% across the boards for the rest of the years of the contract for off scale, and then 2% and step anniversaries for on scale. If you're still on scale, which there's not going to be that many people left on scale after this initial increase, it's really going to launch a lot of people off scale, which is good because then you're getting the larger across the board increase. Um, there's also going to be a longevity increase November 1st. Um, uh, for anyone who would have who has like who's in a bracket in one of the longevity brackets. Um, so and there's a percent associated with which bracket you're in. And then the across the boards would happen in April, and there will be uh the step increases for those few people who still have them in April as well. And then uh the longevity raises in May of each of the following years. So when you hit one of your longevity milestones, you'll get that percent. So for some people, they're actually getting, like three raises in that period of time within the next 6 months, which is pretty good. Some people will be the two raises within the next 6 months and then an extra raise in one of the other years. Um, but yeah, pretty, this is really going to push everyone up. It's still a lot of the same raises that we were like a lot of people are getting about the same raises that we were under the scales. Um, it's just kind of stretched it out in longer ways for some people, so that way it's not all at once. It's dragged out a little bit more over time. And the question that I've gotten is like, well, Dan, what do you think about this, right? What's your analysis on this? I mean, number one, uh, you know, if this wasn't good, the bargaining committee would not have taken it. That's the fact. I know sometimes it could be hard to just to trust people like that. But I mean, the majority of people, this is going to really, really help them. I mean, everyone this is going to help, but the majority of people this is going to really, really help them, right? This puts money in people's pockets and it puts it in now and it helps them solve the wage crisis that we had. Um, and I think it is good. I liked the scales. I like the scales because they solve some deeper structural issues that we have. And we are going to have to still solve those. And looking forward, I hope people, will take seriously the idea that we really need to push for some deep structural changes, and if that maybe in that negotiating process, that means maybe not as much immediately, not as much like right now, but we were building out a structure, but the fact is our wages were so far behind, people needed this money now, right? Not theoretical money in a long-term structure, right? They needed money now. And this solves that problem, and that is the most important problem because people need to be able to pay their bills, right? So hopefully we can be going into that next contract and really be thinking about what sort of structural changes we can really make. And yeah, I'm not disappointed. You know, I'm not disappointed at all. I think we are solving the most critical issue. And we did it very effectively, you know, money in people's pockets. So, you know, that's what I've got to say about wages. Um, and like I said, for more understanding of what you specifically are getting, talk to your delegate, talk to Murph, and they'll be able to walk you right through that. Um, healthcare. A lot of people should already know this because we've gone over this in open bargaining a couple times, which is also another reason why I wasn't making that many videos, is because you were all supposed to be going to open bargaining, and it didn't, you know, I was asked not really to make videos because then it's like, well, you know, people would just be like, oh, I don't have to go to open bargaining. I can just watch one of Dan's videos. No, go to open bargaining. And you should have. So you should know what the healthcare situation is, but I'll go over it anyway. So um, we will have three healthcare options. And all three of these are healthcare options we've had. They've done a bit of adjusting. So the first option is the Blue Solutions, um, also known as the Network Blue New England plan. This is structured very similarly to um, like most HMO plans. It's a very standard plan. It has you know, it has good coverage. It is a good network uh, you know, health insurance plan, right? For Blue Cross, right? This is not rinky-dink, you know, insurance. It covers a lot. It's, you know, standard in the way it's done. Um, the only change, the coverage is the same, and the deductible is the same, which is 150 for individual, 300 for full for family. The only thing that's changed is the premiums. So we've reduced the premiums a lot. So a full-time family is going to like $10. Um, a full-time individual is going to $0, and a part-time family is going to $33, and a part-time individual is going to like $12. And these will all go up a few dollars over the course of the contract, but not significantly. We're talking like it'll be like 30. The full-time individual will actually be zero for the life of the contract. Um, but like part-time family goes up to like 46. Uh, you know, a part-time individual goes up to like 16. You know, we've brought these premiums down tremendously, tremendously, right? So this is very cheap. This is very cheap, good coverage. This is not cheap, crappy coverage, right? Which we've seen that before. Like, you know, we've all kind of experienced it with that. I mean, the neighborhood plans are good. They're not bad. But this is, you know, you can go anywhere in New England to a Blue Cross provider and be able to get, you know, covered insurance, except for Vermont. Weirdly, don't need cancer treatment in Vermont is the only advice I would have. Like if you need cancer treatment from Vermont, I wouldn't get this plan because for some reason you won't be covered at all. Um, you know, and obviously this is for all these insurances are for calendar year 2026. So open enrollment will be happening like normal in like November. You know, sit down with the coverage person, go over what the if you're looking to if you're thinking about switching to the Blue Solutions, talk to that person about what's going to be best. In general, this is definitely going to be a good plan for, you know, you younger full-time employees who don't have a lot of medical costs. You know, you might want to think about this. This is, you know, this would be a very cheap plan for you. And if you don't really need insurance, like, you know, then this would actually be a pretty good coverage. This would be a pretty good idea for you. And you know, I mean, everyone's got to investigate what's personally going to be best for their own, you know, well-being and healthcare concerns. But yeah, that's the Blue Solutions New England. The big one is obviously the HSA. So the HSA, if you're not entirely familiar, is a high deductible plan. Um, so you have this high deductible. and then you have that front loaded at the beginning of the year onto like a debit card, and then that covers just everything. It covers absolutely anything. And then once you meet that deductible, um, everything else is covered, right? They have to be health insurance. They have to actually be health things, right? But yeah, it covers just tremendous amount, like just everything. It has very, very high coverage. Um, so what has happened to it is, so what you do is, we've gone to splitting the deductible to 50%. So we pay 50% of the deductible, the hospital pays 50% of the deductible. And then they front load that all, and then you pay back the hospital, um, what you owe for them, for the essentially the loan they've given you in front loading that deductible, your portion of the deductible. So you've got to pay back your portion of the deductible to the hospital. And that's what we'll get out of your paycheck. You are now also going to have a $55 premium. So you'll be paying back your portion of the deductible every paycheck, and a premium every paycheck. Um, so this will roughly be about, for a full-time, like, or for, well, for someone on the family, which is like the 3,200 deductible, it'd roughly be about $100. I haven't done the math of how much that it would actually be, but it would be roughly around $100. And for someone who's on the individual, it would be roughly about 80 or $70. Um, so yeah, so that's that. Um, and it's the thing that I would say about it is, like, I mean, number one, if you have a lot of medical stuff, it's still a tremendous plan. It covers just everything. Um, and I, for a plan like this is still pretty cheap when you actually look out onto what's going on with employer coverage in other places. So, but like I said, when open enrollment comes, sit down with that person, talk to them about, you know, the plan, what it does, and get a good idea of it, and make those decisions. The last one would be the HealthMate. Um, it's a national Blue Cross network plan. There's not many people on it. I'm not a big expert on this plan. I know that it's just you have Blue Cross coverage throughout the country. So um, it's very good. From what I understand, it's good if you have kids living in other states, like for college or something like that. Like if you have dependents who live in other states, this is a good plan for that. It's the priciest of the plans, you know, and the it's premiums are going up a little bit over the course of the contract. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit. Um, but once again, sit down with the open enrollment person, or talk to other people who, like, I don't know, talk to mothers. The, all the mothers in this hospital, read the entire health insurance plans. Don't talk to a 30-year-old guy with no kids. It's just I I know a good bit about this, but like at the end of the day, what's going to be best for you, that's harder for me to say. So, um, yeah, and so we also obviously protected the pension. The pension stays as is for the life of the contract. Uh, you know, it's a that one was personally satisfying just because of how often I would hear people from outside the hospital go, "Well, nobody has a pension anymore. Well, nobody has a pension anymore." This is why people don't have pensions anymore. Is because they don't fight for them. It's a great fucking, it's a great benefit, and it should be protected, and it should be available to people. It allows for a floor in your retirement. Allows you to choose, what kind of retirement plan, like what kind of market-based retirement plans you would like to put in with your money. yes, you don't have employer matching, but you're also getting a free retirement plan. Like they're putting money into that retirement plan for you. Um, so then you can spend your money on market-based, retirement plans in addition to your pension. That, it really allows for people to choose what they want to do with their money going into the future. So, um, so there's a lot of little stuff as well. So I'm just going to kind of rattle through this. There's not much to say about a lot of this stuff. It's all very, uh, well, like normal stuff. So preceptor pay has been upped to $3 an hour. It'll go up to $4 an hour in 2028. There's going to be a lot of precepting, so you know, cash it in. Uh, they increased the vacation caps. There was never much of a fight about that. They knew they had expanded the units and they had to increase how many people were allowed to be on vacation for RNs and OHWs. Um, we added Juneteenth and removed the floating holiday. What does this mean, Dan? Why does that matter? So that's actually more money. Um, so the way you want to think about it is, and holidays are actually very expensive for them, but very good for us. Um, because so the floating holiday, right, is just banked time. And an actual holiday is banked time and holiday pay. So in reality, these two things are not equal. In fact, a holiday is significantly more money than, like a real holiday is significantly more money than a floating holiday. Um, so that is why that trade is ultimately more money for us because people will be able to work that day, so they'll get the bank time and they'll get the holiday pay. So that's what I have to say about that. It was a good deal. Um, the probation has this was something that we had discussions on beforehand. They were like they had a ridiculous original position. I can't disparage, and I'm not disparaging. They had a uh, misinformed position on on what they wanted to do the with increasing probation for part-time employees. Under their original idea of it, it would include everyone who was 32 hours and below. It was actually anyone who didn't work 40 hours, right? So if you worked 32 hours, you would have an increased probationary period, but that shouldn't apply to you because you're already working enough for them to be captured within the standard probationary period. Um, so it's gone from it's an extra 30 days of probation for anyone hired in at 24 hours a week or 48 hours biweekly um, or less. So per diems and such. The point of this was that people who, with those very light schedules, would go through their 90 days without having, like a lot of them wouldn't have, will have worked not a lot. Um, and so they felt like people would then be out of probation and they would not have caught problems with those workers and you know not be able to make decisions effectively in their opinion. I think it's reasonable. It's not that big of a deal. You know, uh, if you're a good worker, you shouldn't worry that much about probation to begin with. Uh, Not to say that they can't be, you know, that they can't be messing around sometimes. So, gotta be careful there. And you know, we just keep an eye on each other, whether you're on probation or not. Still talk to your people who are on probation. Tell them to still talk to their delegates. They still have to be treated fairly. Probation doesn't mean that that managers can just do whatever they want. So, um, there's some union related stuff about adding some extra like language that allows Murph to actually put in the contract that Murph can go to the union office. That wasn't actually part of it, but stuff about the orientation issues we've been having. I detailed this in a previous video, but where they were not telling us that orientation would end early, that they'd move the dates without telling us and stuff like that. So we updated a bunch of that language to make sure that, you know, those mistakes don't happen again. Um, uh, Visitation rights, checks board disciplines. We added a lot of language about, making sure that they can't just do whatever they want when it comes to disciplining for the checkboard. Um, so I would check in with like, mental health worker nurse delegates about the actual language in it. Um, the TA summaries are available if you also want to check that. But you know, it's that's an important win because I even know personally that the checkboard, situation was uh, chaotic. So um, the job bidding. Uh, so so what it is it was two times within a year. And now it's once every 6 months, right? So that is effectively the same thing. Um, and uh, it's two times that can still be two times within a year, but it does space it out a bit more. I don't know. Like, moving around in Butler, like time passes so fast. Um, you know, is this going to be perfect? No. But the other thing is that the thing about this language is that it just means that they're not required to accept a bid. And what I think is what I think they think that this is a problem that people just get to bid like are going wherever they want, but they're going to realize that they need people in positions so badly. Don't think they're going to fight us much on job bidding. Um, but yeah, it's I don't know. It's mediocre. Um, we put in some safeguards around, because there is the problem of job bidding, but you were assigned a holiday. Now that holiday is going to be vacant. Filling holidays and vacancies on holidays is bad for us, right? So extending that a little bit, but putting a cap on how much they can extend it to basically one pay period. Um, and yeah, uh, but any language about, holding you in your position because of a discipline, that's gone. So don't worry about that. And the trial periods are now one pay period instead of 30 days. I think that's fine. You should pretty much know within a week whether you're going to stay in that position, which is what I've seen historically. Um, Overall, it's fine. you know I think they're trying to solve a problem that doesn't really exist, and they're going to realize they have the opposite problem, and they're not even going to remember they put this language in because they need people in position so badly. I think that's it at the end of the day. It makes them feel like they got um wait, no disparagement. It makes them feel good. So uh we awarding the extra time in OT. Yeah, that was, I think, that's gonna turn out to be very important that we clarified that list, because I feel like that's one of those things that can cause a lot of employee on employee beefs if it's not laid out clearly. As long as everyone like can look at the language and be like, okay, I see, you know, I this was awarded correctly. I think people be that makes people more accepting of us maybe a situation they didn't quite like. So I think it was good that we did put in that clarifying language. Um, you know, LOA, coverage for LOAs. We got some language in there about that. Returning from LOAs, getting the contract and the benefits information in Spanish and Portuguese. Very nice. That was a very good thing. I'm glad we got that. It's, I think, good that uh, our members whose first language are Spanish and Portuguese will be able to read their contract in their language. Um, the sick time buyback, it's if you see this, what it's basically saying is that you have to have at least 8 hours of sick time for them to send you a letter for the buyback. Um, if you have less than 8 hours of sick time, you probably shouldn't sell it back to begin with. You should probably save it just in case. Also, how do you have less than 8 hours to Um, but yeah, the life insurance stuff staying the same. And there's the opt out. You get so if you don't take any insurances, you get money. They give you an opt out bonus. That stayed the same. Um, the education fund. I keep saying this, and people are going to be annoyed that I continue to say this. I think this is a real sleeper hit in this contract. I think it's an incredible thing that we got was moving the money for tuition reimbursement and education whoop, over into 1199's care, right, into our hands, right? The biggest problem that we had was that people weren't getting their tuition reimbursement money because it was so difficult. There were so many hoops to jump through. Money was not received on time. Applications were not reviewed right or declined or blah. Right. This allows us to look at expanding the scope of what we can cover. And we're going to be doing education fairs, I believe, in the fall on, the education fund itself. So this one's a little bit of a delayed celebration because that's when, like, if you're interested in tuition reimbursement, going back to school, getting licenses, things like that, just attend those, see what that fund might be able to do for you. Ask questions. I think it's an incredible opportunity. It's also put us one step forward to, you know, joining the even bigger 1199 training fund and really helping people out. Um, we got a couple of committees, the Recruitment and Retention Committee and the Workplace Violence Task Force. So we'll be, Johnny Cabral will be running around trying to get people to join those things. So stay in touch, be ready to help out if you're asked. Um, the Workplace Violence Assistant Plan, an interesting structure. I have thoughts on it. It's The idea is that it is essentially like that sick bank that we did, where you you can donate sick time. It can give out sick time to people who have been hurt in a workplace violence incident. Um, they're going to start it off with a bunch of money in it, so they are actually putting their money into it. Um, and but there's some weird restrictions. You have to put like a little bit in order to be able to be eligible to get that money out if you are hurt in a workplace violence incident. Um, it's worth a look. It's where, people have to make the decisions that they want to make. Um, but it's a structure. It's a structure that is money towards workplace violence. Um, and what I think about this is something interesting. Maybe it's not perfect in its current iteration, but I think as we understand it, as we see how it operates, in the future, we should really push to make those changes that might make this, in my mind, a real commitment from the hospital to, money on the line for dealing with the workplace violence as an issue, making sure that they're not just morally incentivized to keep us safe, but also financially incentivized to keep us safe. So, um, and yeah, so that's the long and short of the TA. Um, and what's next, right? Next is the return to work. Now, as I'm making this video, people should be getting information about what return to work looks like for them. Um, we had a meeting, we talked to the hospital. Most of the membership is being recalled by this Sunday or Monday. Um, and you're gonna get letters in the mail, you're gonna get emails from delegates and leadership about, what you got to do. The hospital has provided us an email address. Um, and bhhr at cne.org. And you have to email that to that email address, make sure that you tell them when you're going, well, the soonest you'll be available to return to work. If you can't return to work by the return to work day that they've recalled you for, when can you? Why can't you? Um, and and they're going to be able to deal with those case by case basis. Those, for the most part, should be honored. If you had a planned vacation, if have to, put 2 weeks in because you took another job and you just need to put 2 weeks in to leave that job, that should all be honored. CC your delegate on that email so that way we'll just have a running tally of it. We really need that in as soon as possible, so make sure you do it. Don't put it off. The sooner the hospital knows what their schedules look like, the sooner they can make adjustments and be able to maybe recall those people who haven't been recalled sooner than they would have been because they need coverage or things like that, right? They're going to make those decisions based on how much information they can get. Very important. Please do that. They also have provided a link to where you can reset your password for logging into the basic Care Northern password that you have for, like, logging into your desktop and things like that and your email. That's all one account. So you can do that from home. You can reset your password before you go in, so you don't have to try and do that while you're just coming back. If you don't remember your password, call the hotline. Um, they can help you reset your password. The people who have not been recalled, I don't imagine you're going to be waiting too long. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know exactly what, but we're going to keep a very close eye on who hasn't been recalled, what their needs are, really trying to make sure that we can get everybody in as soon as possible. Um, uh, but I mean, the need is going to be pretty great. So those people who can come in, be ready, out of those people who haven't been recalled, be ready, to come back. Um, it's you know, once people are in, their insurance will be turned on uh by the first of the month after they come back. So that's why we are going to try and absolutely get everybody in before September 1st if we can. Um, I don't imagine there's going to be a shortage of patients. I don't think any of you imagine that. So I imagine we can fill this up pretty quickly and really try and get everything cranking. Um, yeah, so uh, you know, make sure to email that thing. Please do that. It's really important. Um, and that's in you have to email whether or not you've been recalled. Just email the email address they provided. Ah, um, and we're gonna come back to work as soon as we can. We're gonna try and get this place back up and running. Um, that Sunday, the Sunday we all plan on going together, even if we're not working, and walking in with the people who will be walking back in. Um, everyone's got to come in through the Sawyer entrance though, so make sure. I mean, we're all going to be together, so it'll be a nice little march, and yeah, um, we'll go from there. So, this is it. You did it. You fought a great fight, and overall, when I look at this contract, look at this agreement, we stuck to our priorities. We got real serious increases for our members. We have a path out of poverty for everyone, and we've won a really good fight. We've secured our most important, priorities and benefits, and I'm very proud of this. I'm very proud of this, of what we've done. What we've done is historic. What we've done is um, monumentous. We are a part of history now, and there's no there's no dismissing that. There's no dismissing what's happened here. Rhode Island is going to remember this. People are going to talk about us like they did the Brown and Sharp, or the Verizon strike, or you know uh, the Stop and Shop strike. Like, people are going to talk about us. You're part of the legacy. So you should be very proud of yourself. And I'm very proud of you. And I can't wait to see you back in the hospital. Make sure to say hi to me and remind me what your name is. I've had to learn 700 names. There's no way I'm getting it right if you don't tell me. I'm just kidding. But you do grab me though. I'll be in the lunchroom usually. Um, so Butler 1199, uh, you've done an amazing job, and I'll see you back in the hospital.